So it's been about a year since Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 has released, and it's been about a year since I've flown on Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. And that is exactly what we are doing right now. I just took off from New York's JFK in Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 and just decided to revisit the sim and check it out, see what the performance is like, see what, the differences are like, and see if it's still fun. Is Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 still a fun sim to fly? And as you can see, we have all the old default liveries parked up at the gates here at JFK. Something that is greatly improved in 2024 is we have actually real world liveries on our aircraft that's parked at the gate. And of course, we also have the AI traffic. That's a huge new feature that we all enjoy now if you use it in Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. But today we decided to come back, revisit 2020, see what it's like flying in 2020, see if the performance is improved. And I will say, it definitely feels a lot better than when I used to fly 2020 about a year ago. So again, it has been a year since 2024 has been released, and since that year, I have not flown 2020 at all. I've strictly been flying in Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. And I made the switch immediately. Of course, as soon as we were able to download the game, it took us, the first couple of days were a little rough getting the sim up and running. But once you were able to get into the sim, I have been flying 2024 exclusively, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. I know there's a lot of people that still only fly 2020, but for me, I just made the switch immediately. I never deleted 2020, but I've only been flying 2024. And some of the things that made me switch was like the career mode, for example. I felt like that was a huge thing that brought a lot of people into the sim, even though it didn't turn out to be as great as we wanted it to be. But it was, it was something different to be flying around, I would say. And of course, just the performance improvements. I mean, 2024 is by no means great, but it did make a lot of performance improvements, at least for my setup. I got better frames and just less stutters and stuff like that in 2024. I know some people are still having issues with 2024 and, the performance in that sim. They don't like it. Some people still only fly 2020, for example. And that's fine, to each their own. I'm curious to know your thoughts, though. Like, do you only fly 2024? Do you fly 2020 only? Like, have you revisited 2020 at all? Have you deleted the game completely or the sim completely? I mean, it's a whole different mix, and everybody has their own preferences, of course, and we respect that. But so far, I mean, 2020 seems very stable here. According to the Nvidia overlay that you can't see on screen right now, it's about 60 frames, and it's pretty decent. My setup's okay. I have a, 5070 Ti graphics card. That serves me well enough. Of course, I would love a 5090, but I don't have one. But yeah, it serves me well enough, and again, frames here seems decent. No stutters at all. I do remember taking off from JFK in flights in 2020 before. I'd get a lot of stutters out here, so it's nice to see that that's at least decent right now. As we try to reset this camera here with the head tracking. Head tracking's a little wonky, so I'll leave that off and just turn my camera manually for now. But yeah, I would say the performance looks pretty good over New York here. I will not complain one bit. That seems to have improved since I've last flown. It has been a year, so that's to be expected. But yeah, pretty good. And one of the things of this sim I guess I still have issues with is the load times. 2024 just loads a lot better. I don't have much mods in my community folder anymore for 2020, if at all any. But of course, when you have a lot of mods in 2020, it just take forever to just launch the game. That was one of the things that drove me crazy. I'm not sure about you guys, but that load time to just start up to get into the sim just to go flying always kind of aggravated me. So I'm happy that, with 2024, that's greatly improved, I would say. Some people, again, their performance may vary, but I would say that is greatly improved in 2024, to each their own. But yeah, sim still seems pretty decent, I would say. Performance here is pretty good flying over New York. But one of the things, like I said, that drove me to 2024 was the career mode. the performance improvements, the UI tweaks. The UI is not great, and even setting up your controls, I think sometimes a little wonky. But at least now we could save our controls, you know, per aircraft and so forth, compared to this where we had to create new profiles every time. So that's a nice little improvement there. And of course, there's tons of other things that improve, and tons of other things that still not working well in 2024. But you know, 2024 is okay for me. And again, the career mode, that's a kind of a touchy subject because I know it's not, you know, a lot of bugs in there still. But of course, it gives you something to do, right? Unless you're just setting up your own flights here in 2020. You know, 2020, I guess, kind of, you know, got to its end for me. What 2024, at least you could go fly to career mode, try to build your company, try to buy planes and build your fleet. Is it perfect? Absolutely not, but it gives you something to do, right? So from that aspect, I do like 2024. And again, the performance to me is just better. The graphics also looks a lot better. The trees are more green, and the scenery is a lot less dull, I would say, in 2024. But, you know, some people have a lot of mods, and, you know, there's stuff like Rex and, you know, different Nvidia filters that people add on to make the sim look, you know, a lot better, and that's good. People have a lot of add-ons that make the sim look a lot better, and, you know, that works for them. So no issues there. Let's go ahead and turn right to fly over New York City. Of course, all the buildings look a little dull compared to 2024, but hey, all good. One of the things I did have an issue with was launching 2020. It kept starting up the sim and eventually just like closing or crashing. And I did some digging up online, and it has to do something over here. So if you have that issue where the sim starts launching and then it just shuts down and doesn't give you any error codes or anything, try navigating to this folder here. This PC, of course, I'm on Windows 11, C drive, program data, Nvidia, and you're gonna find this folder here called NGX. Supposedly it has some old data in there that keeps caching and causing the sim to crash. If you don't want to delete it completely, you can just name it .old, you know, and once you name it .old, you'll save your stuff if you ever want to retrieve anything that's in there. I don't know what's in there. And then, of course, once the sim launches, it will create a new NGX folder. But that gets the sim to launch for me. I don't know what that does and don't know why, but I found it online as something to try, and that was the only way I got the sim to launch for me. So, hey, give that a try if you're having issues launching 2020. But I'm curious to know, you know, you guys' thoughts and feedback. Are you still flying 2020 solely? Have you made the switch to 2024? Did you delete 2020 completely? I'm curious to know. And wow, what's the reasons for flying either sim, or, you know, why haven't you deleted 2020, or why haven't you gotten 2024? Maybe you just don't want to spend the money. Maybe 2020 gets you all what you need, and I respect that. You know, everybody has their own decisions. We all have different budgets, you know, different financial constraints. So nothing wrong there if you fly what works for you, as long as you get the enjoyment, you know, seeing the world, practicing if you're trained to be a real pilot, of course. Whatever you want to get out of the sim, as long as you get it out of the sim, whichever sim that is, 2020 or 2024, maybe even X-Plane. Nothing's wrong with that. You know, we're all just trying to have some fun and do some flights or learn something or practice, whatever the case may be. But here you can see New York City. Looks fairly dull. I'll put a little clip of what it looks like in 2024 in comparison to this. Does look a lot better, I would say, in 2024. And of course, one of the city updates, I think it was City Update 11, made some improvements to Manhattan and the New York City area. So definitely something to check out in 2024. It does look, I would say, better in 2024, the New York City area, especially if you're somebody that lives in New York and flies out of here a lot. But still pretty good. Still pretty good. Yeah, from a visual aspect, I would say 2024 is superior. The clouds look a lot better, even though I have it on clear skies right now, but the clouds look a lot better. Everything just seems to be, to me, better. And again, to each their own. Some people disagree with that opinion, and that's fine. Nothing's wrong with, you know, having different opinions at all. At all. But 2020 is very stable, I would say. Again, the Nvidia overlay, which you can't see on screen right now, is reporting about 50 frames. And I'll take that. No stutters whatsoever, which is a great improvement. I mean, I'm not flying an airliner or anything, but even flying a small plane like this over New York, you know, I would get a lot of stutters in the sim in 2020. So to see that it's fairly stable is great for the people who still fly the sim. I will say that, that's for sure. So it's cool to see that. Definitely cool to see that. Look outside, very nice. Let's go ahead and make an attempt at a landing at LaGuardia, aka La Garbage, which is not La Garbage anymore. I mean, the runways didn't get any longer, but from a passenger standpoint, LaGuardia is a lot better, I would say, and probably the better of the two airports here in New York right now. JFK right now is a lot of construction taking place right now. A lot of diversions for traffic. I would call it a mess pretty much. Whereas LaGuardia, Terminal B and Terminal C, it's kind of easy to get in and out of there, and the terminals, the new terminals, are just beautiful. Especially Terminal C. I probably fly out of Terminal C a lot more, Delta, Terminal C. I've never flown out of Terminal A. I believe that's where Spirit flies out of, but LaGuardia now is pretty nice. Very, very nice. I wonder how much longer they're going to continue to support this sim for, Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. I think Asobo did have an announcement of how long they committed to support it for. And I know the updates are probably far and few between, but I believe they're still supporting it with some updates and city updates and stuff of that sort. But I wonder how much longer they will do that for. I believe at this point, a lot of people have switched, especially recently after sim update, I want to say 3. A lot of people went ahead and switched, that I could see at least in comments and forums and stuff like that. A lot of people switched to 2024 after sim update 3. And with sim update 4 around the corner, I heard that it has even more improvements, a lot more improvements, stability improvements. I know ray trace shadows was a big topic this week. I see people talking and posting about that. So that looks pretty good and promising once it arrives. But I think 2024, you know, I might delete 2020 soon. I really might, you know, to make space on my hard drive. Not that I'm running out of space or anything, but, you know, just to free up the space, get rid of 2020. I mean, it served us pretty well in a time where, you know, we were not expecting a new sim from Microsoft. FSX was the last flight sim we had for Microsoft, and then this kind of came out of nowhere. It was quite a surprise, and a welcoming surprise, I would say, when they announced it. At least for me. So it's nice that we still had this sim, and of course now they gave us 2024. Not complaining at all. I've never really flown an X-plane, I will admit. Never really flown any of the other sims. It was FSX, and then I took many years off until 2020 released, and now we have 2024, and that serves me pretty well. So I'm curious to know you guys' thoughts. Leave them in the comments. Let me know what you think of 2020, what you think of 2024. Are we going in the right direction for Microsoft and the flight sim stuff? So let me know your thoughts. And of course, if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. It definitely helps out. Leave a like on the video.
500.
Just curious to know what you guys think. And I'd appreciate the support on the channel as we continue to grow the channel here. On this channel, we just do some, you know, fun flight sim stuff. Nothing by the book. And of course we play some other simulation games on the channel, just for the fun of it. So would appreciate your subscription as we continue to grow, as we go ahead and attempt this landing here at LaGuardia. I'm a little long, but we'll take it. Bring her in nicely. Alright. Not the worst landing, not the best by any means, but we'll take it safely on the ground at New York's LaGuardia Airport here in Flight Sim 2020. And as we can see, the crappy liveries we have on these aircraft compared to 2024, it's a lot improved, of course, and the AI traffic is also a nice touch. So, and for me here, it's reporting about 50 frames at LaGuardia. Again, that's pretty decent. It's limited by main thread, but it's not red like it used to be. So I'm guessing they made some optimization changes to the sim in the last year, which is great for those of you who are still flying 2020 exclusively. That is good, but 50 frames in New York and not a stutter in sight. Like, it's buttery smooth. The performance is buttery smooth, which it is for me as well in 2024 for the most part. But it's nice to see how far this sim has come along with more updates from Asobo and Microsoft. So that is awesome. All right, we're gonna go ahead and end it here for today. This was our quick look at Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 a year later after 24 was released. Please leave me a comment, let me know your thoughts. I'm curious to know what sim you're still flying, if you're still flying 2020 or 2024. Would appreciate a sub on the channel. See you guys next time. Peace.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Check out one of these videos next.